I want to go back to Sunday's ESPN FC, which is every day on ESPN Plus in the United States. So Don Hutchison was part of the gang, along with Stevie Nicol. And when they were asked about Manchester United, specifically, who would you play ahead of the other, Bruno Fernandes or Scott McTominay, who came on again and scored another vital goal? Let's just say the two didn't quite agree. Let's hear what Stevie and Don had to say.
6 points back of Spurs in the top four. Don, based on what you saw today, you think Manchester United can make up those 6 points and get into the top four?
Maybe. I mean, their big hope is maybe in the Premier League this year. Top 5 might get you in the Premier League, but that's, that's very, very complicated. I think the form that they're in, and just on the point, about, Scott McTominay, he's a player that's obviously in form and playing well and scoring goals. And the boys mentioned that he might be on the bench. If you're going on player performances and you look at the performances of Bruno Fernandes, if I'm picking one player that I think is going to be more of a goal threat for Man United, Scott McTominay or Bruno Fernandes, I think it's Scott McTominay. So why wouldn't you play the player in form? He plays at number 10 for Scotland. Steve Clarke plays him in that position. And he certainly scores goals for Scotland. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think they can. They're in good form. They've got to make sure they keep the desire. I think the spine of the team is a lot more settled. I mean, they obviously lost Lisandro Martinez, so that's made them a little bit weaker. But in general, I think the spine with Casemiro's back and Højlund scoring goals looks a lot stronger.
What'd you say there? Not a chance?
There's not a chance McTominay plays in Bruno Fernandes.
Why not?
Because there's not. There's just not.
Why?
You know how the game works. It's not.
But
it's
who's
not
the better
simple.
player?
It's not. Well, Bruno Fernandes is a better player.
No, not on form.
What do you mean on form? McTominay's coming off the bench and scoring goals. What has that got to do with leaving your captain out and playing Scott McTominay? There is not a chance. There's more chance of Aston Villa winning the Champions League this year than Scott McTominay playing instead of Bruno Fernandes.
No, I don't think Ten Hag will do it. I'm asking the question, why would he not do it?
Because he won't. You just answered your own question.
Well, I know, but he should.
No, he shouldn't.
You don't sound like a very flexible manager. I would have hated to play for you.
Completely disrupt the whole... that particular move... That particular move would completely disrupt the dressing room. Do you think Bruno Fernandes is not going to go absolutely bonkers?
I mean, is that a reason why you don't do it? Eric Ten Hag's never been afraid to make a big move. No, he's not. He threw Ronaldo out of the team.
That's a no-brainer, absolute no-brainer. What you're talking about are two completely different things. If you want to go and upset the Man United dressing room, you know the best move? Drop Fernandes. Let's see how many hand grenades he throws in when he goes in.
That might tell you, Stevie. That might tell you how delicate...
It's not going to change anything at Man United. Man United won this game today because of Harry Maguire, Varane, and the goalkeeper made some saves. It was about a defensive display.
Okay, Janusz, Team Stevie or Team Don?
Interesting view, one that I don't share. Of course, Team Stevie. Bruno Fernandes is, if not the best, certainly the most important player in Manchester United, because he's finally a part of a properly functioning team, right? Because in the past, when Manchester United struggled, this season, of course, early on, it almost felt like Bruno Fernandes at least felt that he needed to do everything. Now he knows he doesn't have to. And even if you go with Don on form, I mean, if you're interested in statistics, is by far the best player, Bruno Fernandes, if you look at through the season. If you watch that Villa game, he was quietly good. That's what caught my attention, actually, without knowing that this argument or this topic is going to come up, because I almost kind of have to look for him. But then when you did, of course, he was just about everywhere where he needed to be. That's sort of a playmaker that doesn't have to do it all, as I said before. So to me, look, he's not only a playmaker, he keeps the rhythm, of course. And if you look at, McTominay, I don't want to take anything away from him. Don't change what works, right? But he as a player, when you look at the team as a whole, is at the moment a bull in a china shop. And you need those type of players in these situations that we've seen, that can come up and now feel with his confidence that he can score goals. But I think the mentioning of it, that he's scoring goals right now, I think it's partially because of the functioning team. Everybody's scoring. Højlund all of a sudden's got 5 and 5. Garnacho's playing well. Rashford in the last couple of games, he's playing well. And that happens only because you have that intelligent playmaker in the midfield that, if things don't work, now can release those players. So absolutely not.
Okay. McTominay has 7 goals this season. 4 of them have come off the bench. For me, it's not an either or. They don't really play in the same position. Manchester United play a 4-2-3-1. At the weekend, it was Casemiro and it was Kobe Mainoo. So should McTominay be starting with Bruno Fernandes playing just in front of him in that 4-2-3-1 setup?
Well, that's his position, right, defensively. But he's made a mark for himself at Manchester United and at Scotland, right? And that's why we're having this conversation, because he's in a rich vein of form. But I don't, and I hope Manchester United don't live in a moment, because there's a bigger picture. And in the bigger picture, we have found out that playing that defensive role, he can, but there's something in him, which he's showing right now, that kind of drives him forward. And you have to find a good balance. But that's not me. That doesn't mean to replace him. There are games, and you've seen what Ten Hag has done in the past. And I can sort of understand why McTominay has been better, is because Ten Hag has been telling us for how long now that he wants to press. And in that pressing game, when you play McTominay higher, he's got an engine, right? So he can do that. But again, as you, Mark, said, you can't compare the two. And when things don't go well, I understood all those movements. But when things do go well, and you have that team now that's kind of showing an inkling of togetherness, clearly McTominay is not a player that I would put in place of Bruno Fernandes. But I, of course, would put him in place of Casemiro if need be, only if Ten Hag sits him down and say, oh, by the way, there's a different function in playing in that 2 in behind Bruno Fernandes than in playing forward. So you got to make sure that you do your job first and then look to score second.
Okay, that's Manchester United. I also